right over there. Black shirt, yes?
So, I have this letter that I've been dying to give you, but I don't think that would be possible. So, I don't know if I might read it.
Can she read a letter to you?
Well, of course. Could I say no?
Okay, well, okay, we're gonna put you on the spot when you come up here.
Okay.
Are we going to be sorry about this? We are, aren't we?
It's about like 60 seconds long.
Stand right here. Here, so we can all hear you.
Is this going to be embarrassing?
For me.
Oh, good.
You can write columns.
R.L. Stine. It's an honor to meet you and a pleasure to introduce myself. I am Alicia Madden, and I am 15 years old. To this day, years it seems, after placing down my last Goosebumps book on a respective juvenile shelf, I still haven't forgotten you or the books that have an everlasting place of fondness in my heart. It is a priding thing to inform you that that particular series of books provided a younger me with so much enjoyment and suspense, whereas no other author's book could penetrate my scrutinous taste for decent children's literature. I remember as if it were yesterday. In second grade, I was assigned to read a rather girly book over the course of a month. Purposely, I concealed Werewolf of Beaver Swamp and Stay Out of the Basement within the hardcover and coyed my teacher into thinking I did the wretched assignment. The reason for this was because of my intense infatuation with more chilling, sophisticated, and unpredictably obscene literature that couldn't keep me from consuming the things that you wrote. Since the introduction to your form of literature, I've become a willing slave to authors like H.G. Wells, Stephen King, and Edgar Allan Poe. And there hasn't been a day in my life where I haven't been reading. Finally, I thank you for the challenge to mind reading and your merciless devotion to the mesmerizing of a young audience that throughout the years, you've played a role in my successful life that no words can express, nor ink can pen. With all due respect, Alicia Madden.
Way too nice. Way too nice. Thank you very much.
She said no words could express, but there were a lot of words expressing something.
That's very sweet.
That actually,
No one has ever done that.
I was going to ask him, has that ever happened before?
No.
No? Wow.
No.
Wow, score.
Very nice.
Now we all have a story.
I think our job is done here.
Okay, good night, everybody. Great.
Were any of the books inspired by things that happened to me when I was a kid? Not really. But I was, I had so many fears that what I do is I think back to what it felt like to be a fearful kid. And I try to capture that feeling of panic in the books. But I don't think there are any specific. I didn't really have a horrifying childhood.
Green jacket.
Were there any stories that they said, no, this is too scary for children?
Usually my editor said, make it scarier. I tended to be a little too conservative. And almost always, they would say, hype it up, make it scarier, make it, stretch this out. There was a very early book called The Girl Who Cried Monster, about a girl who came to believe that the librarian was a monster, and she was watching from the stacks. And in the original version of the book, the librarian eats a kid. And they thought that was going too far. That was one thing I can remember. And so, what I did, instead of having him eat a kid, he had a big bowl of live turtles on his desk. And every once in a while, she would see him reach into the bowl and eat a turtle and crunch it up. Which, that's better than a kid, right? Because, no, it's so much crunchier. That's one of the few I remember where people said, oh, my editor said, no, that's too much. That doesn't happen very often.
Blue shirt, Star Trek shirt.
So how do you feel about the graphic novel adaptations of your books?
Should I give an honest answer?
Yeah.
It was all right. I didn't think the art was great. I didn't have anything to do with those books. I saw them when they came out. I was happy to have graphic novels of Goosebumps stories, but I think there are a lot of better authors, better artists.
You weren't consulted at all in any?
No. The author is always the last person to know. At least I am.
Grace Mitchell, right over there.
Okay, so how many times have you been to Disney World and went to the Goosebumps?
I've been to Disney World way too many times for an adult. Now, my son Matt was the most spoiled kid in the world. We used to go at least 2 or 3 times a year. And he knew every inch of it. But when we had, for 1 year, we had Goosebumps Horrorland at Disney World. I had my own land. It was great. So I had an excuse to go even more often. But I've had some very humiliating experiences while doing it. I love Disney World. I really love it. But one day we had a motorcade parade. It was Goosebumps Day in the park. And we had a big motorcade parade. And all the Goosebumps characters were there, and we had bands, marching bands. It was a really big thing, and they had this long white Cadillac convertible. And I sat in the back of it said, R.L. Stine Goosebumps on the side of the car. And my son Matt sat on this side, and I sat in the middle, and Mickey Mouse sat on my left. And we started off through the park, and it was huge crowds on both sides of the street, both sides, all the way down as far as you could see. And we started out, and I'm waving, and all the way down the street, people are yelling, "Hi, Mickey! Hi, Mickey! Hey, Mickey!" He was a little more popular. So that didn't quite work out. And then they have this thing where you put your hands in cement in front of the Chinese theater, and they have a big ceremony. And so I was doing this. It was a big thrill. It was Goosebumps Day. And I'm putting my hands in cement, and I look down, and there's Whoopi Goldberg in front of me, and Ted Danson, and Robin Williams. And I said to the woman, where are my handprints going to go? And she said, oh, we have a closet for that. It's a bit of a letdown. But that was an exciting year to have a Goosebumps attraction down there.
What was your favorite Goosebumps book that you wrote?
My favorite one? Oh, I think all the ones with Slappy the Evil Dummy. I know, people like Slappy. He's just fun to write because he's so rude, and I get to insult everybody. And the newest Goosebumps is called Son of Slappy. But yeah, I keep writing Slappy. I don't really understand it. This whole thing about dolls coming to life and dummies, and I don't really get it.
I don't get
keep
how.
writing it.
I was going to say, I don't get how a ventriloquist doll can have a son. Well, you're the writer. I thought you'd explain it.
Give away a big surprise.
Way back there, a young man sitting in the corner.
Did you ever doubt that you would succeed and kids would like it?
Did I ever doubt that I would succeed? Oh, listen, I wrote for 20 years before Goosebumps, and no one ever noticed, really. I don't know, I just didn't quit. It took 20 years.